Greetings and welcome to episode 4 of the Weekly Review, a weekly podcast here at Words About Games where we sit down to talk about games. Keith was looking very scared for a second there. I need to remind him that we're not playing Among Us. There's no need to be scared. I'm your host, Amy K. Alexander, joined this week by Mr. Daffy Moody. Keith Robinson is already leaving.
Hello. I'm back.
Guess who's back? Back again. See, you get a week off when you need it.
It wasn't a week off, trust me on that.
Yeah, damn.
Wasn't a week off. But I will say one thing is on the part of I'm bringing the F1 talk back. Like, apparently we don't talk about that again now. I heard that on the last week on the episode. I watched it, I listened to it, and I'm just like, wait, what?
The only
You're bitching about F1? What the hell?
The only thing I can really recall from the last couple of podcasts that I watched reviews is a discussion about people I have no idea who they are, but it's got something to do with Formula One, and it took me a minute to realise it wasn't a game.
Well, that's disconcerting for one of two reasons. Either Keith's not making it very far into our podcasts, or he just zones out. But either way,
he zones right out.
He zones out. I don't believe he listens. I think what he does is he just skips through them. And like he listens out for like a sentence and then he writes it down. And then that way he can be like, and then that way he gets like 5 sentences from 5 sections of the podcast, and then he's like, oh, you know, I listened to it. I remember when you talked about omelets.
I'm your dungeon master, Amy. You should know by now I don't write notes.
I know. You still can't get the name of my character right.
Yeah. I keep going to see a character's name, thinking Ava on my head, and I go, no, that's not right.
I literally made a screen share of a Google Doc that I still have of my character's name in giant letters in all different colours, and he still couldn't get it right. And it was on the screen.
Fascinating.
2 years of you having another character name.
That wasn't my idea. And now we're just airing dirty laundry. And this isn't the normal podcast. This is the review show where we actually have to review things and be semi-professional, because people give me game codes to talk about things on this episode. And I have to link it to real people in the video game industry every now and again. And I assume they watch it, and probably not.
Hi, I'm David Moody, studying at Gateshead College and future QA tester for you, just so you know, ladies and gentlemen. For all the game devs out there.
Oh, no. That reminds me of a story I can't say on air, but I'm going to have to tell you about it once we finish this podcast. For now, all I'm going to say is we've got 5 games to talk about this week. Monster Prom 2, Monster Camp, Amnesia, Rebirth, Scourgebringer, Among Us, and Birds Alone.
Do we have to really talk about Among Us?
Yes.
Why?
Because I owe another apology, Moody. And you should be very interested in this apology.
Right.
Given who the recipient is going to have to be, based on what happened. Although, you know, that person did get immediate and swift vengeance. But we're not starting with Among Us, 2020's Game of the Year.
2018's Game of the Year.
2020's Game of the Year.
We're not going that way.
Oh yeah. Oh, again, I'm hashing out. We've got what, 8 weeks left until the Christmas break. We're going down that road. We're gonna start with Monster Prom 2, Monster Camp. A competitive, hilarious dating sim.
Yeah, a competitive alternative dating sim. The original one was a massive rip-roaring success. I backed the Kickstarter, just putting out there for the second one, and I got a reminder, not so much of the actual Beautiful Ghost itself, but from Amy, the day it was coming out. How long did you have a Steam card sitting on your desk waiting for the game to launch?
A week.
A week. Sent me in the scramble for my code. I got it they sent out the codes the instant it went live.
I was refreshing the page all of Friday. Let me buy you. Shut up and take my money.
The only game I've had download quicker than Monster Prom was Among Us, and that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but so Monster Prom 2, you pick a character, you flirt with monsters, you hopefully smooch some monsters,
Yeah.
and you collapse into a wheezing fit of laughter along the way. Usually courtesy of Keith. There always seems to be courtesy of Keith. Well, I got myself once.
Yeah.
This time, which was fun.
By the crowd. By the crowd.
Yes. So myself and Keith played 2 games. Moody, you played 1 game. I don't know if anyone else went off and played it by themselves after we played it when it came out on the Friday. It's Moody. Did you never played the original?
Nope.
Correct. Yes.
Not at all.
Myself and Keith are extensively knowledgeable about the original game, having played it a lot.
You've played it more than I have.
100%.
Yeah, it is a game that is brilliant to bring out just for charity streams when we're sitting on Russell's couch, because no matter how tired you are, there will be something that pops up on the screen which makes you go,
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry? What perspective? Oh my.
So let's start with Mooney. What are your overall impressions of Monster Prom 2 Monster Camp?
I think it's a fun game. There's no doubt about it. Like, I think it does need the team dynamic to make it more fun. I think if I did this by myself, I don't think I would have got it as much. I think I would have got like the pop culture references and all like that. But other than that, the solos I think personally doesn't work very well, or would have worked very well if like I said. But I really enjoyed it. I think it's the animation and colorfulness of the characters and intriguing design of all the characters is bonkers and fantastic and all over the place, and I love it. The dialogue is all spot on and all unique, soul crushing, beautiful, interesting, bonkers type of way, and they do a really good job on that. And yeah, I had a lot of fun reviewing Keith. I thought it was a really fun time, a really good game. For what the price is, I think it's perfect for anybody. I'll say that right now. It's a tenner. It's not much, ladies and gentlemen. Go and check this game out. I'll just say that right now. I had a lot of fun. Again, for me, I think the caveat is like, if I did this by myself, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much. So for me, you need a team at least.
Yeah. I feel like funny stuff. It's funnier when, like, if I start laughing at the buy the crab moment, I don't want to like get into specifics of any of the things that happen in the game. But yes, there was the moment with the buy the crab chant that Keith already mentioned. Like, I would have laughed a bit because it was funny, but because I was laughing and then Keith laughs, and then when someone else laughs at something, you laugh harder, which makes them laugh harder. Yeah. And then you both collapse into fits of giggling laughter. And I feel like that's where this game excels, because it's humor. Like, it's a comedy, like more than just about anything else.
The wonderful thing about what is, like, because Amy is a streamer and because I've played multiple games with Amy, we do read out what's on the screen.
Yes, that too.
And occasionally there's just a moment where I'm reading something and it's just like, I'll choose this option. I open my mouth and a load of bees fly out, and then my reaction to reading what is on the screen will set Amy off, and she's unable to breathe for 5 or 6 minutes.
I mean, you both played enough games with me of all types to know that once I'm off, and I'm not coming back for a while. Like, because this is how it works.
If I hear the heavy thud, and I've got to work out if you're falling out of your chair or you just dropped your controller while
that
laughing.
Only happened once. I only fell out of my chair in a live stream once. Because of the bees from Monster Prom 1. But yeah, so what are your overall thoughts of Monster Prom 2? Keith?
What? Yeah.
No, I'm asking myself. Hey, Amy, what do you think? Well, Amy.
I really like it. There is 2 things I'll know. I have played the original a lot, as we've mentioned, on various live streams, and just amongst us, me, you, like Kirsty and stuff, have played it before as well. There is more pop culture references in this one.
Yes.
But there's some political commentary, at least in one of the like things that we found. But they've still got the fun. There was a whole issue with like bears that just was excellent and on point, and yeah, it was just like those like three heel turns in one conversation. I do find that the conversations in like, or they're like have to go through all much longer than they were in the first one, or at least that's how I feel about some of them. It's like it used to be that some of them it's like, oh, you just click through, like there's like one answer and then like a new picture will pop up and there's like another bit to read and that's it. And this one was like there seemed to be like 3, sometimes 4 extra like things that pop up for you to read.
Like
some of them take a lot longer. Like the crab one.
Like each interaction, like each scene, I don't know what they actually call them in the game, but like each scene is like longer than the previous game. Like there's more dialogue back and forth, and they're more in depth, and they go on for a bit longer. Like the actual storylines, because we found like 2 in the game that all 3 of us played. So like sometimes it's just random things keep happening while you're trying to romance your love interest of choice, but sometimes you'll stumble upon storylines that lead to secret endings if you can nail them is a really bad choice of words if you can get them right.
I mean, to be fair, the one I unlocked, that did seem to like nail it.
It did, yes.
To, like, be appropriate.
And there were, but like, there's still just 3 of those scenes, like there were in the original. So it's like you still like it's like a 3-part story, and like the one that I was doing, I unlocked it quite early on. So like in the middle of this storyline, there was just like a random scene because I had like more than 3 scenes left with this one character. Functionally, it all still works pretty much the same as Monster Prom. Like the layout of the UI is pretty much the same. Like there's stats. I think there's one less. Is there one less stat in Monster Prom 2 than there was in Monster Prom? For some reason, I feel like there was 6 in the original. I think it might only be 5 now. But I'm not 100% on that, and I couldn't be bothered to load up the original game. Money, yes, there's no money because there's no shop.
Yes, because instead of the shop with the cat girl,
you get drinks.
You get the magical cat John now has an image of him. Not what I was envisioning, but yeah, he provides you free alcohol.
Yeah, so that's one of the new mechanics. So I'll get it. We'll dive into those in a second, just to like lay out what hasn't changed. Like apart from the humor, the characters are all amazing.
I wish I knew people who made this game in real life because they just seem my sort of people. For the Manhattan Island drink that you found.
That's what Twitter's for. Follow them on Twitter and get to know them. That's how Twitter works. How do you think me and Moody became such good friends?
Because we met at EGX.
We met at EGX for 13 seconds.
It was literally 13 seconds.
Followed each other on Twitter, and then I was just like, hey. And he was just like, hey. And now here we are, arguing every week on a podcast. So you still, like, you interact, you make choices based on stats that you have. You increase the stats by going to specific locations, this time in the camp instead of the high school. The lunchroom, like there used to be a lunchroom that you used to go and sit with characters that's been replaced by a campfire. I mean, it works the same, except you can go and sit with other player characters and get stat boosts. So nothing happens, but it's a safer thing to do because you can't fuck it up.
We haven't seen what happens if someone's there by themselves.
I was about to say, unless no one comes and sits with you. And then there's the weird... and then there's the other guy who sits across who you can sit with.
Mothman.
Yeah, the Mothman who you can gossip about with another player, and then depending on what you say, they'll get stat things. Otherwise, you just sit with 2 characters, settle an argument between them, and whoever you side with likes you more. Because that's how real life works. If Moody and Keith had an argument, I would pick a side, and I would see a little heart symbol appear above one of them. Bling, and then I would be like, I have curried favour with this character. But yeah, I love this game. Like, I've had a good week. After a few shit weeks. Well, not shit weeks. After a few weeks of games I have not gotten along with. The streak is broken, and I've played good games this week, and Monster Prom was one of them. Yay! I was seriously starting to wonder if I'd ever play a good game again. And then I remembered this was coming out. But the other new mechanic is the drinks that you mentioned before. When you get a drink, you can pick a drink which will give you a stat boost, or will change your stats into entirely new names.
Thanks, Keith.
Or we'll just do really
No, that
random
wasn't
stuff. Or we'll just do really random stuff like change everybody's name.
Yeah. Yeah, was it mine that changed everyone's name?
You
No,
changed.
mine was
Moody took a fantasy drink, which changed his stats to fantasy equivalents, which none of us could understand.
yeah.
Despite two
Amy
veteran
drank something
D&D
called
players.
redacted, which removed her name. It redacted her name. Someone took something that changed everyone's names, and I summoned.
He took something that blocked everyone's stats so we couldn't see what's what.
Yes, and then at the end, Keith took a drink that blocked out everybody's stats so nobody could see them. But that was in the mystery box. So you can choose to drink the slightly safer drink, which will either give you a stat boost or it'll just do something funny. Or you can choose a mystery box, which could be better or worse. So in the match me and Keith played, there was I did a drink which allowed us whichever location you visited, you got an extra point. And then in the game where we all played, there was a moment where somebody chose the mystery box and all of the stats got covered, so you couldn't see any of your stats, which made selecting the correct option sometimes quite difficult. Because I was like, I don't know what my stats are.
Yeah.
I don't know what to pick.
Yeah. I have no idea if because we haven't played it enough. I don't know if those drinks are just limited to the mystery box, or if they're just like you see one and then you don't know what the other one's going to be. Because I had a drink which stole a couple of points off you guys and gave it to me.
The mystery box drink, they specifically say it will either be more better or worse than what you would get. So they're not going to be on a level with the non-mystery drinks, because obviously they need to be better or worse than the one that, because it's a gamble then, right? That's the gamble with the drinks. I still think Damien's amazing. Like, even though I got stabbed so many times.
we were discussing it. It's like, you're so sad that your two favorite characters, which were
Scott and
Polly,
yeah.
Polly Geist, who's the best character from the first one, and Scott weren't the werewolf weren't in this one. They'll be in like another part of Monster Prom 2, one of the other games, and then they turned up in the middle of one of your interactions and stole somewhat the person you were trying to romance's phone and replaced it with a banana.
And then I took it to the banana shop,
No,
and we got it. We turned it on and off again, and then it worked perfectly. And they could still Instagram on the banana, because we returned the banana to full functionality. And that's the kind of game that this is. Like, if you're not, you need to be ready for chaos.
It's even better, because amongst that chaos, it even mentioned the fact that bananas were kind of created by men, because the original bananas had seeds in them, and they're all like, what? They're a monoculture, and they're like, hey, that's actually true. And then it went off into the banana store, which was a riff on the Atlas store, and just like, this is amazing.
It seems random. It's like just that random, weird humor that I love. Like, that really is just for me. Which is how we bought Monster Prom, the first one, on a whim, because we were like, competitive dating simulator? That sounds weird. And all the characters are monsters, and then it was so much more than we ever expected it to be.
Yeah, it was like, this art style looks kind of cool, and then you just read the descriptions of what was like being said below. It's like, this seems really weird and kind of our sense of humor, and it totally was, but so much more than we ever realized.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a perfect little streaming thing for us all.
Oh, definitely. Like, I'm already thinking of like, okay, I'm streaming on these days. When can we when can we three get together and stream Monster Prom 2? Because it's hilarious. And like, I've built a setup with 3 little boxes to go next to some gameplay. Like, we could totally do it and get everybody's faces on it. It'd be great. But I am looking forward to digging more into it. But I can already say with the safely that this is going to be on the Game of the Year list somewhere. Like, the first one was a top 10 game in 2018. This one's probably going to be a top 10 game in 2020. Like,
it's a very good game. Like I said, I need to play a little bit more of it and get a little bit more into it, like you two. But yeah, I would say it's high 20, like in the teens for me right now. Could get into the top 10, but like I said, I need to play more.
We'll bring that up. I don't know how. I know mine's a top 30 because it has been for a few years now. I'm guessing yours is a 20 or a 30. Your Game of the Year list at the end of the year. How big is that going to be?
Normally I do a 10, but I could be convinced to do a 20 if
But
I
I'm
wanted
forcing you to play way more games than normal.
Yeah, so that's not that you're forcing me. I've enjoyed it. Like I've got a beautiful new PC who needs to get some games playing
Oh,
on us. So.
I've got game recommendations coming out the wazoo.
Oh, very good, Amy. Very
But
good.
Monster Prom 2 Monster Camp, fucking brilliant. Underrated as fuck.
Thumbs up. It's a thumbs up for me.
I've seen so many people going on about it at the moment, like, but yeah.
Yeah, because I
Not
follow the
amazing,
devs. They've been retweeting a lot of art. So my timeline has been semi-filled with Monster Prom art, and I find it
If I meet
fantastic.
the retweet if I like ship this couple.
Like,
Just means
yeah. Maybe the game's right. Maybe I am just really thirsty.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another reason why this game is perfect for me.
Or are you a bear?
No, not the bears. So I'm going to change the vibe of this podcast entirely with the next game, because I'm going to talk about the complete opposite. I'm spinning this round to Amnesia Rebirth. I meant to play more games. Yeah, Keith's got the right idea. I meant to play more games this week, and instead I played Amnesia Rebirth from start to finish. In a day, but here's the thing. So Amnesia Rebirth, it's a sequel to a very famous PC horror game, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. It's still a horror game, obviously. It's a first-person survival horror, not in a Resident Evil style where you can shoot the things that are trying to kill you, but in a style where you have to hide and run away from them, and you are powerless before them. And I played it through the course of an entire day, but in small chunks. I would reach my limit of how much I could take, and I would leave the computer for like 30 to 60 minutes, and then I would sit down and I would boot the game back up, having lowered like the threshold, and then I'd play it for some more until I was too scared to keep playing it, and then I went on like this all the way through a day until I finished the game.
I don't know why you're like this, but I've come to accept that you are.
I'm going to tell you I am like this, because that's the purpose of this review podcast. So Amnesia Rebirth, it's excellent. Like I said, I had a really good week. It's an excellent horror game for starters. It is terrifying in a completely different way than the first game, Dark Descent. Dark Descent is quite rightly known as one of the scariest horror games of all time, and I don't think Amnesia Rebirth is going to go down in the same way, because it's a very different kind of scares. Whereas in Dark Descent, you constantly fear for your life. There's constant, not jump scares, but just scares, if that makes sense. There's constant moments of terror. Whereas Amnesia Rebirth is much more of a slow burn, with its fear. You start playing the game and you're apprehensive, purely because it's Amnesia, and the game has such a history that it's I'm sitting at the computer going okay, I'm playing an Amnesia game. Because it's got that sort of reputation. It was probably about 2 hours into the game before my life was ever in danger. Before I had the first encounter with a monster, and it was very scary. It's the only monster encounter I'm going to show in this podcast, in the gameplay footage, because I stopped capturing footage after the first couple of hours, because everything from beyond a certain point, literally everything will be that's a spoiler, that's a spoiler, that's a spoiler. Oh no. This is all spoilers. But yeah, it's it's a couple hours in before a monster bursts the door down, and you have to frantically you're throwing sandbags out the way of a door to try and get it open, and there's this monster running. It's and the panic really sets in, because even before that, it's it does an excellent job of just making you feel really uneasy. It reminded me, and bear with me because it has, the two things have nothing in common apart from this one thing, but it reminded me of the original Paranormal Activity movie, in that the thing that did really well is the same thing that this does really well, where it raises your anxiety level to just where you're constantly uncomfortable, And then instead of doing what the normal horror thing would be, which is to scare you and then let you get comfortable again, it just never lets you get comfortable. And that's what Amnesia Rebirth does. You never feel comfortable while you're playing it, because you're constantly aware of everything that's happening around you. Like, there's a fear system similar to what's in the first game. If you stay in the dark too long, you start getting more and more scared. Like, the character starts getting more and more scared. So you have to like light lights and stuff and make sure you've got oil in your lantern and stuff. And you can start to hear things and see things. Like, mostly nothing overt. Like, it'll just be like, oh, there's footsteps, or a can will roll down the stairs or something like that. But it's just enough to keep you a bit fidgety and just be like, what's happening? What's happening? The only thing, if you get too much, it does this thing where you have flashes. And the flashes make sense in terms of the story, but they're also jump scares, and they're really cheap. And those I hated, because it's just like, that's just a really cheap way to make me go, ah! And I hate that kind of thing. Whereas there are legitimate, like, jump scares in this game, like a monster breaking down a door while I'm trying to move sandbags out the way of a door, where it's just like, that's fantastic levels of panic. You know what I mean? Like, I'm genuinely fearing like what's happening right now. But yeah, I can't really talk about the story.
That's understandable.
I can't. It begins in the middle, and you are both forging your way forward while piecing together what's happened already, and that's as much as I can say. It sounds like a cheap cop out, but it is just one of those games where it's like, the fresher you go in without knowing anything about this character and this world and what's happening, the better, because like, a large portion of this game is genuinely about figuring out what's going on. And like, I could tell you, like, there are gameplay mechanics tied to story, tied to like things in the story, where it's like, if I tell you what the gameplay mechanic is, that will spoil the part of the story that you shouldn't have spoiled for you. Like, it's weird. Like, I've never, like, there are plenty of games where I've been able to give like the story descriptions, and this one, it's like, okay, you play it as Tassie Trianon, who is on a plane with her husband and some other people, and then the plane crashes in the desert in Africa in like the 1930s, and then the story continues from there. That's it. And you wander around in the dark, getting scared.
Oh, yeah, is there anything that didn't work for you?
There was the cheap jump scares, like I mentioned. There's something like Amnesia, both Amnesia games do, or all three, I should say, because there's been three. And like various other horror games where it's like, you ever played a game where like you have to physically open doors. So like in the game, you hold the trigger down, and then I was using a controller, so it's like, to push the door, you push the analog stick, or if you need to pull it, you pull the analog stick back. Like, I've always found that really fiddly. Like, and I get why they do it, because again, if I go back to the monster coming down while I'm trying to move this stuff, and then it's like I'm trying to open the door, and it's like, it's just all feeds into that sort of panic of like, push the door, it's a pull, like, God,
yeah,
like, but
it works, but it also can be very fidgety, like you said. So.
Yeah, it works, but it can be fidgety, and like, that was the reason I was playing with mouse and keyboard for a bit at the beginning, and that was the reason I switched to controller, because it's the same thing on a mouse where it's like, you push the door and you pull the door.
So you have to go with that, yeah, and you have to do that, yeah.
Yeah, for some reason my brain can interpret it easier on a controller with an analog stick than it can with a mouse, and I get really confused when I'm trying to open doors, because if like a door pulls open to the side, I'm trying to move my mouse to the side to open the door, and for some reason that's what my brain thinks I have to do. So I had to switch over to a controller just for that. But it does. It also drags a little bit towards the end. It suffers from the same malady a lot of games do, where it goes on a bit too long, which drags it out. Like, there's an extended, let's call it a stealth sequence. There's like an extended stealth sequence towards the end, which is just annoying. It's not scary. It's just annoying. It's meant to be scary, but some combination of how long it takes, the mechanics that are involved, like it's just frustrating. And that was the only part of, I think that was probably the only part of the game where I wasn't scared. I was just like, is this not over yet? Like, god damn. But there are so many fantastic moments in this game. There's a moment with the labyrinth, with like lots of pressure plates, and you've got to try and manipulate the pressure plates to like move these like blade things that come down so you can get past them. And wouldn't you know it, partway through, a monster turns up. It's absolutely terrifying.
What was it? What was your completion time?
I want to say it was probably, it's hard to gauge because, like I said, I was playing it in fits and starts, but I want to say around about 8 hours, I think. I put it in this game.
That's not bad.
Like it like spread out across an entire day. Like if I'd sat
Yeah.
down to like just go for it from start to finish, maybe I could have done it quicker. But no, like it's got a lot of puzzles in. The puzzles are really well thought out. I didn't get too stuck on all that stuff. Yeah, like I'm just trying to remember if there are any puzzles I really got stuck on, and I don't remember anything that, like, there was a couple where it was like it gave me pause for like a few minutes where I tried to figure out where to put this thing or what to do with that, or like there were a couple where it was literally like I need to go to this place. And ironically, it was the place I'd ran from where the monster came through the door, and I just kind of stood in front of the door for about 2 minutes, just like, okay, you do this. You just have to go in, get the thing, and then run away. That's all you have to do. Run in, run out. You know where the door is. So everything's going to be fine. Like, there were moments like that where it's just like I kind of had to psych myself up a little bit to just do the thing.
Yeah. Well, that's good little intent. That's like I said, the game's got you intense there. It's got you fearing. That's obviously what it wanted you to do. So it's done its job there. So
yeah, like even in like the intermediary play, that's not the right word. Even like, because it's like it follows the same sort of basic structure as horror, where it's like scary part, and then there'd be a long part of like nothing bad is going to happen to you in this clump, in this section, and I could intelligently recognize that while also the game was doing its little tricks and doing its little things to make me not feel like I was completely safe. Like, I knew I was, but also I might not be. Like, that little voice in the back of my brain. So there were long sections of where it was just like, it's just puzzle solving. All you're doing is you're solving puzzles, and it is a creepy environment and everything, but it is just like, yeah, it does keep you on the edge of your seat mostly the entire time. And I loved it for it.
Well, at least you've got 2 in a row now. You had 2 in a row of bad games, or games that you didn't enjoy, and now you've had 2 in a row, pretty back to back, pretty close back to back, all in 1 week. So that's pretty good. That.
Go back if you listen to last week's weekly review, and you remember what I said about Remothered Broken Porcelain. Amnesia Rebirth is the opposite of everything I said about that game. Like, this is at the opposite end of the spectrum. This is a horror game that I absolutely loved. Like, I didn't know if I was gonna at the beginning, because again, it's that slow burn. Yeah. But like, the good thing about a slow burn is once you really get into it, it doesn't stop. But like, you know what I mean? It doesn't stop rising. It's brilliant. Like, you do need to just kind of settle into it and let it take you where it's gonna go.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It's got a much stronger story than Dark Descent as well. It's more story focused than necessarily just being a game that is making. Dark Descent is a great game. It's fantastic horror. All it exists to do is scare you. Like,
I am here to scare you.
Amnesia Rebirth paces itself a bit more. It does exist to scare you, but it also exists to tell its story.
Very good.
Which is an excellent story. And shout out to, I wrote her name down, shout out to the voice actress who plays the main character, Alex Wilton Regan, because she's really good. And that was Amnesia Rebirth. I hope they make a third one, and I hope it doesn't take 9 years.
But take your time.
Take your time.
Same time.
Like, take as long as you want. Just don't if you're gonna make another
Not 9
one,
years long.
don't do another Soma and set it all underwater, because I couldn't play that game because I'm deathly afraid of being in the ocean, and the entire game was set in the ocean. And I tried so hard, and I just couldn't do it. Moody, let's move on. You've got a game. You played Scourgebringer.
Well, I've only played 2 hours, so these are very short initial thoughts on it. Mine literally just going to be pretty quick. It's a 2D side-scrolling game. It's been in preview for a long, long time on Xbox Game Pass PC, and it's now come on in Game Pass all around for consoles and PC altogether. What I've played so far is quick, fast. It's a dungeon crawler type of thing, kind of like Dead Cells, Hades, all that type of thing, where you die, you have to go. Yeah, roguelike. That's it. Dungeon crawler roguelike type of thing. The 2D animation, the 2D 8-bit animation looks beautiful. I really, really like the art style. The art style looks really, really cool. And I'm always that type. I always like that type of 8-bit, 16-bit type of look at it. I've always been a sucker for that. The gameplay is very fast and fluid. It's a little too fast for me, I think. I think it is
just furious, but I just need you to put the brakes on a second here.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like
let's not be one of the sequels.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I'm gonna go use another game for the comparison. Hades had that right balance for me, where I chose how I wanted to play it. This one is basically fast pace, or fast pace. If you want to try and go slow, you will get swallowed up with the amount of enemies that appear on screen, and that could be a detriment. It was for me, but at the same time, I think a lot of people will really like this game. I think actually this is a game you will really like, Gamer. I think this is a game I think you will really get into.
Well, I'm gonna have to play it later because I want to capture some footage for this podcast, so I might find myself with another obsession just in time for the 7 million games a week coming out. So is it a case of you getting overwhelmed by the pace and the number of enemies? Right?
Yeah, cool. Over the pace and number of enemies just overwhelmed me. For me personally, yeah, I'm not the greatest gamer that is down. I just want to be frank there. I'm not. I enjoyed them, but yeah, this one was just like, here's 2 enemies. Oh, that's easy. Yeah, I'm strong. Next thing, he is 3. Now you've just killed 3. He is 10.
Like a quick point of contrast between myself and Mooney when it comes to playing games. Like just a quick shorthand. I like Bloodborne. Mooney does not like Bloodborne. There you go. I think that's very
that's it.
That's very reductive, but I feel like that's descriptive enough that usually it's like I like a challenge, like as long as it's fair. And there's plenty of games I've played where it's like we're a really hard game, and it's just like because you fucking cheat.
I like
you, Lords of the Fallen. Yeah, sorry. Mario Kart. Keith's done because he knows. He's actually sorry.
I'm familiar with Mario Kart. Yeah,
I know that. I have heard of it. I understood that reference.
I could have done that one. I understood that reference.
wait, I got
I did.
No, that's fair enough. So is there anything else you that sticks out to you about Scourgebringer?
The soundtrack's amazing.
Yeah, I find that every roguelike I've played, and there's been a lot of them. You just go, even if I'm not liking it, I'm like, but this soundtrack is a banger.
Yeah, I was like that. I was thinking, I'm dying, but the music is so good. I'm still dying.
That sounds like me playing Doom Eternal earlier this year, and I was like, man, this platforming sucks. Music's pretty fucking awesome though.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Like, don't worry about having not played, like, only playing a couple hours of it. That's what the podcast is for. Like, if you only play a couple hours, you only play a couple hours. If you play an entire game all the way through in one day, you play an entire game all the way through in one day. Like, What
Oh yeah,
else?
no, but I wanted to be like frank, like I say, it's not going to be deep dived into this. Like I say,
Yeah.
I've only played a couple of hours. I just want to be honest. That's all.
Alright, cool. That was Moody's initial impressions. See, that's an impressions. What I did was a review. What you did was an
Yeah.
impressions. And we all reviewed
Mhm.
Monster Prom from the beginning.
Yeah. Spot on, yeah.
But speaking of 2020's Game of the Year,
It's not.
let's talk about if it's good enough for Jeff Keighley, it's good enough for me. Let's talk about Among Us. 2020's Game of the Year. We played again. We had a full lobby, 10 people. Wasn't like right. I've sometimes had difficulty like in the past, like as a games person who like tries to get people to play games together. I have in the past had difficulty rounding 4 people up together like, for like a game of Left 4 Dead or like some Halo multiplayer or something.
Yeah. You've had trouble getting 3 people.
I send a message out about Among Us, and I worry within 30 minutes of sending that message out that we're going to have too many people to play this game. Like, it's a concern. Like, and the problem is, since we played it yesterday night, more people are saying, "Oh, I'd love to play this game with you," and I'm just like, guys, there's so many. Everyone wants to play Among Us. Like, it's so easy to just go, "Who wants to play?" Bang! I've got 10. I've got 11 or 10.
Last month where you're like, "Hey, do you want to like try and get a game of Among Us?" And it was like, "I got it. I just bought it straight away," and then there wasn't enough people for a game. And now you're at the point where it's like, "Oh, we've got like 15, 16 people in this group chat now." Which thank you for changing it from Keith is sus.
No, it's a thing. I was talking to Avril about it. Twitch.tv/selfdaughtercrafts, because we both play it together. We both with everybody. We both stream it. I was saying like, no, that's the thing. Every week, I'm gonna change it to a joke based on what happened in the game. So like last time it was Phil needs to find the report button because he kept finding them next to dead bodies.
Yeah.
This week it was Amy is terminated because Amy kept getting killed within the first 20 seconds of a match.
You were my first and I think only kill?
I charged for it.
You charged. It wasn't even subtle. Like, like I don't know if you watched the clip because Tom was in my chat. He clipped it for me. It is just literally like you just see the blue person just running behind me, and I get into navigation, and I was literally saying in chat like, he's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me. He's not even gonna stop. It was like, whoa, damn I. It's like, okay. And then it happened again. Sneaky Pete, Erica, Phil's wife, did the same thing on the other side. And again, I was running away, just like, I'm gonna die. He's gonna kill me.
I managed to kill someone as they slammed the button to report.
That was interesting because me and Russ were dead, and we were looking, and I was like, we were chatting in the in-game chat, just like, is he showing us dead to you? And he's like, yeah, he's showing us dead. And I was like, but he called the meeting, like, yeah. It's like he must have just like pushed the button as he got killed.
Yeah. Because I used the mouse, I was like running, and I was like, every time I try and get close enough to it, I've got to move the mouse down to the kill button. So I was chasing the parade, just like, he just keeps getting out of the way, and then he stopped on the button. I was like, right, smack, that'll fail.
You use a mouse to move.
Yeah.
You should switch that to keyboard.
Yeah.
Mouse and keyboard, because then you can just have the mouse on the bottom corner. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't an imposter once. I want to point out.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, that was funny.
But it's like it's useful for doing tasks. I can just have my little button, my little clicker next to the button. I love this game more. Like with every passing week.
If I could go back to 2018, it would be in my top 10 quite easily.
I don't know if anyone can disagree with that. Like it is gonna be definitely a top 10 game at the end of the year.
No.
Maybe even a top 5, maybe even a top 3.
No.
And that's okay. But yeah, like we've got like there was some mental stuff happened. My crewmate song, and no one believed me. No one believed I had a crewmate song.
I never said anything, so don't say that.
I told you.
It was very suspicious.
I wanted to know what the crewmate thing was, and you said, "Okay, I'll get someone to clip it." And I was like, "Okay, that's me. That was me dropping it." And now I've seen the video.
Everybody was like, "It's super sus that you said you had a." It's like, You've all watched me stream, though. You know I just make up random stupid songs when I'm streaming. And I did. And I forgot how the song ended. Because it was like, when you're just like, da, da, da. And then at the end I was just like, oh, I've found Phil running away from a dead body. That was how the song ended. I think Phil might be an imposter. Report. Yeah, no, it was so much fun. And I like to go back through the VOD from my perspective, and sometimes from Averyl's perspective, and just be like, oh, I'm gonna rewatch Moody fucking Terminator after me because I voted him out in the previous round, even though he wasn't sus. And in my defense, I sat down, I legitimately, like, it wasn't an excuse. I could smell burning in my house. I legitimately, hit the button. I was like, Moody was sus. I'm pretty sure it was Moody. And then he started arguing back, but I'd already taken the headphones off and left.
I thought when we came back, I just saw you stand in the cafeteria, and I was like, no, that's not suspect. Amy did say she was leaving to go check on something.
And I, sat back down, and then I went, you know what? Now that I've actually had time to think about what Moody did, and I'm not scared that my house is burning down, I'm pretty sure he wasn't the bad guy. And then
I got voted out.
And then he turned. No, you'd already been voted out. I was like, now that I've thought about it. And then he turned up in my chat, and I was like, sorry, Moody, you clearly weren't the bad guy. But shout outs to Russ for an interesting strategy at the end of, Moody finds a body. So we go, okay, cool. Moody, I know where Moody is because he's just told me. And then it was like, well, myself and these other two people are all in this one room. And then it was Russ and Foxes. And they're not accounted for. And I just said, and I was in a joking, I was like, explain yourselves, which is just, it's a different way of saying, yo, well, where were you?
Yeah.
And shout out to Russ's strategy of just saying no. I mean, it was a bold move that didn't pay off for him, but
was Russell the Foxes that kept getting was Russell kept locking Foxes in a room with someone like electrical and stuff, and making them kill people?
No, it was
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, he was doing it, but there was the round where it was Russ and Moody, and I caught Russ red-handed. And then unfortunately Moody tried to lie about where Russ was, so then I was like, well, obviously Moody is the other killer because he's lying to protect someone I know just murdered. And then Russ as a ghost just followed me around for that entire next round and locked all the doors I ran towards. You can see it on the VOD, I'm literally every door I run up to just shuts. And I'm like, son of a bitch. That was so much fun though.
Among Us is another great just multiplayer streaming game.
Absolutely. It's also one of those water cooler games where it's just it's an incredibly entertaining game to play. It's an incredibly entertaining game to watch. It's an incredibly entertaining game to just talk about and listen to people talk about the stuff that happened. I have tons of stories, but I don't even know what you guys were up to most of the time when you went viciously murdering me in navigation 15 seconds into a game.
You know what I was doing for an entire game? I just sat there trying to swipe a damn card.
Oh no, I hate that fucking card so much.
I never had bad read before. It would only ever be 2-3 swipes, and then there was just a game where it was 4 minutes of it was first thing on my task list, and I was just like, another meeting's being called, and I'm still haven't done a task yet.
Keith's gonna be having nightmares of that card.
He's just he's probably hears it. Burp, burp, just. I was your first kill ever, right?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm kind of honored by that.
Yeah.
And that again happened very quickly into a match, and I was the first person to die. I was started taking it personally.
It was. I had already decided basically where I was standing. If someone ran in one direction, I would just kind of move in that direction, and if I was by myself, I would kill that person and report. If a few moments later after I'd finished the task, but then I just thought Elf was just standing there watching me, and I was like, well, they're the other imposter. So
yes.
I'm still trying to fill up the engines with the jerry cans because I keep getting that one, and it takes ages.
Yeah, shout out to Elf for dancing over my corpse while I was on stream going, Elf, you must have seen it. You can report it and avenge me. And then she did a little dance and then ran off, and I was like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, I was really scared. Oh, not scared, but I was like, oh, please, Ava, I can't tell you not to try and keep protecting me because it's really sus. Because she kept standing up for me in the group chat, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, there was a point in
I killed my brother on the machine.
Yeah, like that was the only time I think we finally everybody stopped talking. That was the only time we broke that rule, because I was just like, click, just so everybody knows, because we'd had problems with Moody's name disappearing at one point.
Yeah.
And it was like, just so everybody knows, like he's dead apparently. Like we can see he's dead for some reason. Yeah. I was quite relieved I never got to be imposter. It's very stressful.
I was getting kind of annoyed because it'd be like, when it happened, it was like 5 hours over 2 sessions, and I'd never been the imposter. And I was kind of like, I was saying stuff before. I was like, well, I've just like Russell just run towards me, tried to go to electrical where they came out of, and it's locked. How does locked doors work? Can imposter move through them? And it was like, you haven't explained to us because I've never been an imposter.
You have that same experience we've all had of being the imposter. You figure it out as you go along, and to be honest, you've done better than most of us in our first game. Like the first time Russell's was the imposter, he vented in front of somebody. Like the first time I was imposter, I murdered someone in front of Moody.
I won't lie, I want to shout out Foxes. He was really good at
Foxes.
He just sat back and just let everyone talk, and he was just like,
he let me talk about like explaining something.
That was amazing.
And then just went, I just want to know why you called, like, this person called the meeting when I literally just saw you kill that person.
It was me. Oh. It was me. I was sat and I went, yes, Foxes saw it. Foxes saw it. And then you started talking and Foxes didn't say anything. And I'm on the stream going, I'm not going to get avenged, am I?
Then he just comes up like, so tell me, why did you kill this person?
And then I was like, yeah, it was one of the other people. And then I just went, and then I was like, yes, Foxes. And afterwards, like, you're my hero. You avenged me. And then in the next round, he fucking backstabbed me in the electrical. And I was so devastated.
Yeah, because when we got the lobby after that one, you're like, like my hero, Foxes.
Sorry, Foxes. You're not my hero anymore. He got the last kill in the last match on me. Because for some reason, we knew he was the imposter. Yeah, Sneaky Pete left me alone with him. When we were running to fix O2, and I was like, why did you do that? You knew he was going to murder me, and you knew I could not fix the O2. He just ran off. And like the second we got to the button, he just went, back.
In the video that you've put on, like, the murder is quite spectacular. With just like bits and then shoots you on the floor.
Oh yeah, it's just like the two of us running away, bang, trying to reach the knife, and Moody just shoots me in the head. I do like the little animations that play.
Yeah.
I could talk about this game forever.
We could, but we shouldn't.
And I will at the end of the year.
Live.
But yeah, I'm hoping to make it a weekly thing. Whether it's the weekly thing we talk about in this podcast, it probably won't be. But we balanced it last week. We talked about it, but we were also me and Moody were very keenly aware that the game wasn't really balanced well. Whereas this week, after a couple of tweaks, it was pretty well balanced to the point where both sides could win.
Yeah, we had one really long task at the beginning, but then we changed it.
Yeah, like we had too many tasks, and then we fixed that, and then it was cool. And we'll be playing it again and again and again because it's not hard to get people to play it. Apparently,
no.
When you can play it for free on an app, yeah.
It's like it's super easy. Like two of the people who didn't come, two of the people who turned up to our first session didn't turn up at this one, and we had more people in the in it. Yeah, so the last one I want to talk about is a game I talked about a few weeks ago on our podcast, which is the mobile game called Bird Alone, which I highly recommended at the time because it was a very nice, wholesome, helpful app where I was having a really nice time being best friends with a bird on my phone, and for 5 or 10 minutes once or twice a day, we'd make poetry and draw pictures and have nice chats. And I scritched her belly, and then she got really happy, and little sparkly things came up. Or we'd make music next to a waterfall. Yeah, and now I'm rescinding that recommendation because the game's really fucked me off. Because as it turns out, the bird dies at the end. I'm fine with spoiling that. Like,
You've already tweeted it out.
I've tweeted it out. The bird fucking dies. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's such an ambush as well. Like, all of a sudden, you have a conversation about death, but it's not out of that part's not out of left field for the rest of the game, because sometimes you do have these deep conversations, or the bird asks you a deep question, and it's it's cool, it's fine. She's asked me so many questions about so many different things, it's fine. But then it's just you get to a point, and then all of a sudden the bird will just be I feel like I'm nearing the end of my life. And I was like, wait, what's this all about? Hang on, that's a bit weird. But then we made music next to the waterfall, and then a few days later, it was Friday. What day is it? Sunday. It was Saturday. It was yesterday. Was when I tweeted, because then I went in and we were talking. I was talking to the bird, and the bird just went, "Yeah, I'm gonna die." Pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, I'm gonna die. And I was like, what the fuck? So I googled it, and I found a Twitter thread somebody had done where they would they were in the same boat as me, where it was just I was using this game to as a coping mechanism, and now this has happened. And I was like, oh shit, that's fucked up. And then I've logged into it this morning, and oh yeah, the bird is it's my last day. I'm going to die today. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? This is fucking nonsense. You've made a game, and the developer has even said, oh, we created this game for people in lockdown because they might be lonely. And it's okay, but why did you shove this, fake profundity into it by fucking, killing the bird at the end? What the fuck is that bullshit? How many people are going to, get into this game I've gotten into it as a coping mechanism through tough times, and then bond with this virtual BFF, which I'm supposed to, and then be oh, but then you just pulled the rug out from under me, because this isn't what this game was advertised as in any way right up until about a few days ago. And it's it's fucking bullshit. It'd be like playing Monster Prom. And it's exactly the game that we've all been playing, but then you get to the end and you have to watch Damien die of terminal cancer slowly. You know what I mean? Exactly. But you make that face, but it's Moody, you were there when I was talking about this game, the first time in the podcast, about how it was helping me, and now I'm just I'm a bit hurt, I'm really angry.
It seems like a really weird thing to put in the game, especially when your main plus point for the game to people from the developers is it's a coping mechanism for people in lockdown, coping with loneliness, depression, etc., 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 etc. And then for some weird reason, they throw in a life finds a way continuing type of thing that people die and all this, and I'm just no, yeah. That seems really weird.
I see this the other way around, which is this game was exactly how it was designed, and then it was marketed differently.
Going into it, you have no idea, and when I described it in the original podcast to Moody, I was saying it's a game where you're bonding with this character, and all of the words and things I was using to describe this character in this game, I was it's wholesome. The bird is just goofy and enthusiastic, and it made me happy. I know it's kind of a corny thing to say, but it's it made me just that little bit happier when I was playing, after I played it, and then out of nowhere. Suddenly, oh, it's going to have a profound message about loss and letting go. And it's cool, there are tons of awesome games that have that message. This isn't what I needed from this game. And unfortunately now I'm in too deep to get out. I can't not open it because I've bonded with this bird and I don't want to not keep going, but
Yeah.
also I really should stop because like it's just I don't really fucked me up. Like when
Yeah,
I
it would
realized
sound like it.
what was about to happen in this game, and I got really mad and I tweeted about it, and then I thought, well, I better do a thing in the podcast because I recommended this game to a bunch of people on the premise that it'll help them cope and make their lives just a little bit better, and it won't do that. Like if anyone downloaded this game for the reasons I said they should, because I said it, I'm really sorry. Like I didn't know.
Yeah, that's. I think Keith's spot on with the one part as well. Like they marketed this wrongly. They marketed this as one thing, and it isn't.
This is not Nintendogs.
No, this isn't like a cute pet bird that you can just chill with. Like, no, it's not. It's badly missed the mark. And I'm kind of glad we do this in a podcast form now because this isn't just a video I've made that I can't go back to. It's a podcast where I can say like, actually, hold up a minute. Like, this is what this game actually is.
Yeah.
This is a Doki Doki Literature Club, but dark.
Doki Doki Literature Club is incredibly dark. But like you bring up Doki Doki Literature Club, Keith. But I knew what I was getting into when I get into that game because there's a warning at the beginning of the game.
Right.
There's a trigger warning at the beginning of the game for it being a psychological horror. Like as much it's on the Steam page, like in the content warning. There's no content warning for this game. Like there's no trigger warning for anything that happens towards the end of the game. Like the stuff with Doki Doki Literature Club, the surprise works despite the trigger warning because you don't know what is actually going to happen. Like, and it happens so suddenly, and it is terrifying and upsetting. Like, but also I knew what I was getting into when I played that game because it was right there on the Steam store page and at the start of the game. Like, as much as the first 2 hours of that game is a weirdly it's like a weird, average, kind of cutesy, like almost dating sim visual novel. I knew the turn was coming at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with this, it's just like I didn't know the turn was coming at some point, and I got ambushed in a really bad way.
Emotional.
Yeah.
Emotion. I got yeah. No, absolutely. Like. And I imagine that was the developer's intention, but unfortunately, like, that sucks.
Mm-hmm. It's going to do more harm than good, I would imagine, because there'll be a lot of people who would look at a game like this as a way to, especially if someone's lost someone and they haven't had to be able to say goodbye, like earlier on in lockdown, because they weren't allowed to visit.
Yeah, like
quite a few people. This is not going to have helped.
No, not by the end. Like, it will. That's the problem is, it will have helped. For like quite a big portion of the time that you spent with the game, it probably will have helped. It helped me. You know, when I had all that trouble with getting prescriptions and I was like worried and stressed out about that, and it helped through all of that. Like, not like a great deal. Like talking to you guys helped more, obviously, but this helped a little. Day by day, and then all of a sudden it really doesn't help anymore. Like it just it's like the rug just gets pulled from right out underneath you, and I'm like, I see what you try to do, and it's just not great. Like with no warning attached to it. It's like when we were talking about The Last of Us Part 2, really, in our spoiler discussion, and I mentioned Lev's storyline was really good. And I really appreciated what they tried to do, but there's that moment where you sort of first come across the storyline that they're trying to tell, and then it's like that moment where it's like I wish there'd been a warning, like because it really threw me off and fucked me up a little bit. Like, so as much as I can appreciate what The Last of Us Part 2 did with Lev, like in that moment, it was an ambush. literally, it was an ambush. Like, I got attacked by people with both arrows. But um, it was like, yeah, like, it's that moment where it's just like, there needs to be, like, people are trying to preserve these twists. And it's like, yeah, the twists are cool. But, like, if your twist is emotional damage, maybe there needs to be a content warning on that. Or, like, some sort of warning. Because you're going to emotionally damage people without warning them that you're going to do that. This isn't just like it's a story that's going to make me a little bit sad. This is you've bonded with this bird over the course of like several weeks. Tough luck, fucker. She's gonna die. Basically what it felt like.
Yeah. It's disappointing that's happened. I know that was the thing that was helping you along and everything, and then I'm sure it's helped many, many people out there, but yeah, it's very disappointing.
Yeah, it is, and I thought I'd best bring it up on the podcast, on the review podcast. Sorry, that it's Keith's first ever episode, and I've.
May I ask one question? Can you
of course.
start the game again to bring the bird back?
I don't know. I don't really want to. It's
No,
weird.
I'm just for the listeners. That's all.
It's a weird thing. I imagine you could delete the app and delete the data, and then open the app again, but then you're just sitting on a time bomb because it's gonna do it again, presumably.
This isn't Beyond Team.
Yeah. I mean, to use an even more apt example than the Monster Prom one, imagine if in Animal Crossing one of your villages contracted a disease out of nowhere. You know what I mean? It's a similar sort of thing to that hypothetical. But I mean, I don't know what's going to happen after the game. Like, but it's like I could not play it or I could do this, but it's like I've spent so long bonding with this bird. Like it would feel wrong to abandon them now. Like as much like as it sucks, which is a testament to how well the game did its job before.
Yeah,
but also that's the double-edged sword that I've been stabbed with on both ends.
You just got the sword of Damocles hanging over your head there, like.
And it's like I couldn't believe it, and then how fast it happens, as well. It's just like, oh my fucking Christ! Like, it's yeah, I'm not impressed at all with any of the way that this has gone. But that's gonna do it for the weekly review, episode 4. On that fantastic note, Among Us Game of the Year 2020. Thank you very much for watching.
2018.
I've been Amy, that's been Moody, that's been Keith. We'll be back on Monday with... Nope, this was the Monday podcast. We'll be back on Friday with the normal podcast where we talk about all of the news and stuff. That's usually the bummer.
And I'll be back for that one again.
And then we're back next Monday with another episode of the weekly review. We're going to figure out what games they're going to figure out, after this episode. I see a couple of good ones. But for now, say bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.